We're here at Granny's Legacy Patterns today, and we have this lovely little patriotic wreath with a Picot edge. And we're going to talk about how to create that Picot edge. So I have the lovely Valdani Pearl Cotton, and this is red 0775, and it has a tiny little bit of variegation in it. So I have used this thread, 2 strands, to blanket stitch around the edge of my project. And when I blanket stitched, I didn't take long bites out of the edge because I really want the Picot edge to be the focus, not the blanket stitch. So I've used fairly shallow bites when I did my blanket stitching. So 2 strands of pearl cotton blanket stitched around the edge. And now I come back with 1 strand of pearl cotton, and I have decided, depending on how wide your blanket stitching is, I've decided that the number of picots to fill those spaces is 5. So using my needle, instead of the point, I go underneath the blanket stitch, and the first picot I pull a little bit tighter so that I get kind of a curve, and then 2, the second one. So I'm going 1, or that's 2, 3, and I'm leaving these be a little bit looser so it makes kind of a scallopy look. 4, and then my last picot I'm going to pull tight, or fairly tight, not quite as loose as the other. And you just pull that one down and you get one nice little picot in that blanket stitching. So I'll skip to the next one, and still again using the eye of my needle, I go through 1, and the first one I pulled relatively snugly, and then 2, and that one's a little looser so it makes it be curved a little bit. 3, 4, and then the last one again, I'm going to pull a little snugger as I go. That one didn't go through, so there we go. Now, the one thing that happens when you do this is your thread kind of uncurls or curls up either way. So about every second or third scallop, you need to stop and undo your thread, twist it to make it be back nice again. And I'll do one more for the camera so you can see really well what we're doing. So the needle goes on top of the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one I'm going to pull it a little snugger to make it be a curve. So that is all it is to it. And if yours are wider apart, it might be pretty to have like 6 or 7 of the stitches in each one. But if you're running out of thread and you need to start a new thread, I'll do one more just so that you can see specifically how it goes. So under the edge of that blanket stitch, and I'm catching both of the strands because remember, we use 2 strands of pearl cotton on this. So catching both of the strands, the first one I pulled a little snugger. 1, 2, and my needle goes inside the loop. 3, I'm almost out of thread. See if I can finish this one. 4, and the 5th one I'll pull snug. And then now I'm going to finish this thread off because I need to re-thread my needle. So I'm going to turn it over to the back, and I'm just going to kind of go through the blanket stitch a little bit, and I'll do kind of a overhand knot through that. So through and down, and that knots off the thread so it can't come undone. And then I'm just going to take my needle and go through the layers between the top and the bottom layer. So between the top wool and the bottom, and I'll check to make sure my needle isn't showing through. And I'll just pull that through and snip it off. And then to start, I'll do the exact same thing. I'll knot my thread and come through, do a little knot there, and then I'll start again, and at the end I'll just go back and trim all my knots off. So that is how simple and easy it is to create this cute little picot edge on this patriotic wreath. So thank you for joining us here today at Granny's Legacy Patterns.